Time Out with Michael. So glad you guys are here to join us tonight. We have an awesome subject tonight to talk about. So,
I'm sorry, I forgot to turn my volume down.
oh my Lord, she's new.
Someone has to keep you entertained.
Thanks everybody for joining. Please make sure that you subscribe, click the like button, hit the little notification bell so you don't miss any of our content moving forward. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we are on YouTube. So before we get going, let's get a couple people on here. I just want to let you know this is a very serious subject that we're going to talk about tonight. So please don't get upset if we don't say hi or engage. I'll
try to pick up my phone and acknowledge everybody with a little message saying hello as we get started. Hey, Cope and Mellow, thank you for joining.
So we got some awesome guests here joining us on a very serious subject moving across the United States, across the globe, across everywhere. It is it's something that we need to talk about. It's something
Carla,
that we need to have
so
out
much.
there. And so we brought on some really great guests, and I'm excited about this. So let's bring on our guest. She's hiding in the back. And here she is.
You should have done the Josh thing and been like, ding dong.
Oh, ding dong. No, that's Josh's thing. That's his thing. Crystal, how are you? Thanks for joining the stream.
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to stay warm in this cold weather.
Absolutely. So tonight's topic, we are going to talk about human trafficking. So we have Crystal, and she is the organizer for her group. And then we have Ange Mosier, who is the organizer for Uena County. And we're going to kind of go in there. Oh, see, he says ding dong. There you go.
See, Fernie, I knew Josh wouldn't be upset that I said ding dong. I knew he would be okay with it.
I hate California traffic too, but this is a little bit different, and a little bit more serious. So anyway, we're going to dive into this. Again, we're going to engage, but we're going to let these ladies talk about what's going on. They have a lot of good information for us to hear about, learn about. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please put them in there. We will answer them. We will stop what we're doing, and we will try to get to you as fast as we can. And I mean, that's it, right?
That's it.
You got to scoot over a second. Cope and Mellow can't see his cool guitar.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I was hiding that.
So,
not on purpose.
Tonight we are going to talk about human trafficking and what it's about. This is something that, for me as a person and an employee with my stuff, we have started to do, and I'm very happy that my company has decided to jump into this and be a part of this human trafficking stuff, because it's scary. It's amazing to think of all the things that are going on out there, as far as the slavery, as far as the sex trafficking, as far as everything that we're going to talk about tonight. And I was opened up a lot. My eyes were opened up a lot more after we did a training for all of this. And I can tell you right now, I paid attention, but not as much as I pay attention now to some places that I go to. In my business, I am able to look in back rooms. I am able to look inside places that people just can't go to. And I think that's why we decided to join this. And I'm blown away at some of the things that I've maybe missed. And I hope that I have not missed something that I could have helped out with, which is why I pay attention a lot more into my surroundings as to where I'm at. So without further ado, let's announce and let's talk about you guys here, Crystal. So tell me a little bit about your guys' organization and go from there.
So we started Sweetwater Against Trafficking. We became an official nonprofit organization in Sweetwater County, February 23rd of 2018. So we just completed our third full year, working on the beginning of our fourth year. When we started, it was because I found out that we didn't have a whole lot of resources in Wyoming. When I found it out, was because I was searching for resources myself. I had found out that my daughter was actually groomed and sexually exploited online and was targeted within a week and a half of around about 25 to 30 different individuals, asking for nude images, sexual videos of her at 12 years old. And I was just completely beside myself. So I looked for resources, couldn't find anything. Everything I could find was in another state, and I decided we had to do something about it. We needed to start educating families because as a family and as a mom, a dad, aunt, uncle, grandparents, we don't necessarily know about those things in a rural community. So I decided that was our first needed efforts, was to start with education, prevention education, to help parents talk with children or caregivers to be able to talk with our youth about the dangers of human trafficking, about online sexual exploitation and grooming. And then we decided, okay, well, more areas are needed. So we started hotel outreach. We started gas station and restroom or rest area outreach. We talk a lot with different professionals in order to ensure that they're getting the proper training that they need as well, so that they can keep an eye out on for possible human trafficking instances.
I think that one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is, I think a lot of the human trafficking and exploitation, it starts with social media. It starts with our kids, and it could be even something as simple as their online gaming, and they have somebody come on that, you know, when you're a child, you know, you're so innocent, you feel like almost anybody is safe. And you know, Michael and I have really worked with our boys to teach them that people you meet online aren't safe. You can't automatically assume that they're safe. And it's just, I think a lot of that starts there, and it's just good to have those educational resources out there. So I'm glad that you guys have started this.
Absolutely.
It's
And
good to
it's
have
great
that.
for those people that are watching this and that they're a part of this. It's a big thing. It's a scary thing. So Crystal, what is human trafficking? I think human trafficking. I think a lot of people are confused that it's one or the other, but there's so much more. So can you kind of give us an idea as to what is human trafficking?
So a lot of people, a misconception of human trafficking is somebody pulls up in a white van with, you know, tinted windows that are almost black. They throw you in the back of the van and you never see your family again. And that is absolutely just a scare tactic and a myth when it comes down to it. It's human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion in order to take advantage of somebody for either commercial sex acts or labor acts, but it can also be considered child sexual exploitation as well. So anybody under the age of 18, we don't have to prove force, fraud, or coercion due to federal statutes. But in the state of Wyoming, we don't have any statutes that actually identify that children, they consider it child sexual assault, or it goes unreported, and they don't have statutes to protect children from having to show that force, fraud, or coercion. They still have to prove those things, or they're trying to pass an amendment to where they still have to prove force, fraud, or coercion.
Okay, that's pretty interesting, I think.
And I think, again, the big thing is everybody, when you talk to people about human trafficking, you watch the movies and Hollywood, and you see some of these things are pretty real, but people, I think, again, it's not just the slavery and the slave labor. It's also the sexual acts too, but it's both of them. And there's, depending on what part of the country you are in, there's more of the sexual acts there, and then the other part of the country there's more of the slave labor acts, and then you go to another part and it's both. And not that they don't have that in all areas, but certain areas are more known for their sexual human trafficking. More areas are known for their slave labor trafficking, and it's just a horrible thing to think that that's even happening out there, and that we're so naive that it is. And like you said, the white van with the tinted windows saying, "Hey, I got candy, come get in the van," or they pull up and say, they put a cloak over your head and shove you in the van, and you never see it. It's out in plain sight. It's your everyday Joe. It's your everyday Jane that is out there going, "Hey, come on," and you never know. That's the scary thing.
It's also trafficked teenagers who are going into the schools and recruiting. It's not just the white van. That's exactly right. It's runaways who are trying to find help on the streets, and then they get wrapped up into trafficking, or people who are from different countries and they just need money, and so they come here to the States to earn money as like sheep herders or things like that, and they never see their families again because they're just here and they're working and they never see that money.
In 2018, 51% of the cases of human trafficking came from foster care. That's just in 2018. And that's scary because, and I'm not saying that foster care people are more vulnerable, but they are, because they don't have somebody there to defend them per se, but they do, but they don't. And they're just as scared about trying to find their own identity. And then somebody says, "Oh, hey, I'll take care of you." And there you go.
Well, see, and I think that's another common misconception. It's not just children. It's adults. It's our elderly. It's our mentally disabled. It is so widespread. It can be anybody with a vulnerability of any which way: poverty, race. It could be lack of being able to function in society at a normal level.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. It's here in Wyoming. It's not like it's not. We're not the exception to the rule because we only have like so many people here. It's actually pretty big. In our situation, we live on I-80, and that's something that runs through the United States in some pretty big places. Do you think that has a big part to play in, as that we are right next to that interstate, to Interstate 80?
So I think, we were told when we very first started, and I'm not sure how true this statistic is, but they said that they have an average of 1 in every 5 vehicles that's trafficking something, whether it be drugs or people. So that could be anywhere from the beginning where California is all the way to New York. We are on such a large interstate that we are going to see a heavy traffic. And even though we don't see it directly in our state, or it goes unreported directly in our state, we do have people that are coming through that are survivors or that need help. And so I think that that's a big interchange right there. But we also, right here in Rock Springs, we have 191 that goes all the way from New Mexico to Canada, and then in Laramie, 287 that goes, up and down the country. And then we have I-15, and then we have Salt Lake right down the road. So we have a very vulnerable population as is, because it's rural. It's more anonymous that way. People are easier to hide. And, with our open grounds, people are going to come and do certain things because they're not going to be easily caught.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the what are some of the areas that you guys service? Obviously, they're in Sweetwater County here in Uena County. Are there any other areas that you guys have?
Yeah, so we're actually working more towards, so we've done education in Fremont County and in Lincoln County. We are working towards Sublette County, so the Pinedale, Big Piney area, LaBarge, all of those. And then we also helped and collaborate with a nonprofit that's based out of Sheridan as well. So we're trying to do more of a statewide approach in order to do education and awareness, and bring more awareness to it, not just at a professional or, a family level, but as more of a community level.
Absolutely. That's okay. That's awesome. I'm happy that you're expanding out there because again, this is a hard subject to talk about and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and just kudos to you guys for expanding and going out there and educating people out there, because again, this is a hard subject to talk about. Not a lot of people want to talk about it, but once you start to talk about things and get them engaged in some things, give them a little bit of education on it, they're more, and they know that you're there to back them up and help them, they're more apt to go after and do some of these things and be a part of that, and know that they're not alone, because they might have had a traumatic experience. They might have been a part of this. They don't want to talk about it, but they want something done about it. And there you go. You guys have expanded and went out there. So that's super awesome. That's again, you think it's not out there, but it really is. And that's
really is. Well, and Anjali and I, the reason why we are so passionate about what we do is because I'm a sexual trauma survivor myself. I've had plenty of childhood traumas. And Anjali, she's very passionate as well. And, it's not just about protecting and preventing, but it's also to help ensure that we give those that feel like they don't have a voice or their voices are muted to be able to have a voice. Because we, as victims, have found that having that voice is very healing, because it's not only helping us get our story out there, but it's also helping others understand, so they're not creating further harms by the misunderstanding or misconceptions that, as a society are played out.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what kind of services or resources do you have for people when they reach out to you?
So we are actually about ready to embark on some really exciting things. So we were the first anti-human trafficking specific organization in the state of Wyoming. And now that we have somebody that is also specializing in prevention education and awareness at a statewide level, we are currently working with a federal organization to start our first survivor care on this side of the state for human trafficking survivors. We have realized that there has been a huge need. It's going to take a little while, but we really feel that giving a firm foundation is one of the best things to do. So it doesn't just come into, oh, okay, we're going to house them for 6 to 8 weeks, or, we're going to get them established on their feet. This is ongoing support. It's 12 to 18 months that an individual needs to be able to rehabilitate, go through trauma-informed care, work on who they are and become human again, because they are dehumanized. They are a product at that point in time when they are forced into some of these scenarios. Even at a grooming and sexual exploitation level, they are dehumanized. They are just a number. So we really want to start working with them on this side of the state and help with creating that foundation and building them up and restoring who they are as people to help them live a healthy lifestyle.
Teaching them a trade and teaching them coping skills and, helping them learn how to be human. It's going to be amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have obviously been doing this for quite a while in Sweetwater. What about you? You're starting this in Uena County.
So I've been with you for 2 or 3 years now, I think.
You've been with us for a year? No, almost 2 years. Oh my gosh, has it been that long?
It's been 2 years. 2 years. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. So we really went into Uena County within a year of us actually starting. So it was that quick. So Anjali came in and started working with us at that time.
So we had a mutual friend, my friend Cami, and she knew the work that I was doing here with domestic violence and sexual assault. I've worked with stalking awareness. I've worked with suicide prevention. I just kind of run the gamut of things in our county. And so my friend Cami called me one day and she's like, "You need to meet my friend Crystal." And so Crystal was organizing a training here in Uena County, and Cami said, "You have to come to this." And so the first time I met Crystal, she was picking me up to bring me to this training. So we hadn't met yet, and we were driving to a training together.
Okay.
Yeah, stranger danger did not exist at that point. Like, we were totally away from everything that we taught.
Well,
No, that's but we do have a lot of a similar history. Like she was saying, she's a survivor. I'm certainly a survivor of rape, sexual assault. I've survived a stalker since I was about 10. So a lot of childhood trauma going on over here. But it helps us be the people that these human trafficking victims need in their world.
Yep.
Because there's not a thing that they can tell us that we won't completely understand. And that makes us great to get out there and educate people too. Employers, when we're trying to get these trafficking victims jobs that are rehabilitative, so that we can train these employers to not treat them like victims.
Absolutely.
They are absolutely survivors, and they're getting out there and owning their lives again.
Right.
To know how to do that.
And they're not just survivors, they're humans. Like, they lost hope and they were in the darkness for so long. And so I feel like our role is to help them see that light through the end of the tunnel and like guide them through until they're back in the sunshine again. I know that sounds like all unicorns and rainbows and, butterflies and glitter and stuff. But I mean, really, it is a tough road. And if you don't have a good support system and people that actually genuinely care about you as a person and help empower you through that, then it's very hard to get to a point to where you can live a normal life. We were talking before this show about how trauma impacts the brain. And, even as a young child, we know that childhood trauma can impact the growth and development of the brain and how people don't necessarily learn to function in certain degrees because of that lack of brain development. So when we see a childhood trauma survivor, it's going to take a little bit more love and compassion and empathy to work with them versus somebody that started having traumatic experiences when their brain is fully developed. Even though we know that trauma can impact a person in a different way, and no shoe fits the same for any person that goes through trauma.
Although I will say too that Crystal and I have compared notes about the ways that we have coped in our lives, and it is uncanny some of the things that we do that are similar as well.
It just makes it easier for us to laugh at each other or with each other, right?
That's right. So and when you are freshly reaching out for help and acknowledging that you are in a trauma and you're trying to come out of it, it's good to know that you're reaching out to people who have a personal understanding, because they're just not when you reach out to somebody who's never been through what you're going through, they can reach out with empathy, of course. But when you're talking to somebody who is an actual survivor, it makes you feel a little safer in that, I think.
There's such a stigma about sexual assault. There's such a stigma about saying, yes, I have been raped, because you don't talk about that. oh my goodness, what are you saying right now? I don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we can speak out and we can live fulfilling lives anyway, I mean, we're both raising kids, we're career-oriented women, we're fulfilled, and we can show these rape survivors or whatever else that they can live the same kind of life someday, and there doesn't have to be a stigma, because we don't let there be a stigma.
Yeah. No, and honestly, it really is about, not just the stigma, but, the social norms. Let's go into that for a second, because I think that from the time that Anjali and I were kids, there was, a couple sexual songs, and there were some soft pornographic images through movies and stuff like that. But now it's getting to a point where, every song is about, stalking. It's about rape. It's about what somebody can do in a sexual manner. It's about what somebody's value is based off of. We see a lot of television shows that are, talking about adolescent sexual promiscuity. We hear about abusive sex in a way of, it becoming more normalized, and kids thinking that this is okay for us to continue doing these things. It really is a different world from when we were raised to now how our kids are being raised, along with the social media, where they have access to everything and porn is easily accessible for them. And, how that even creates and is associated with human trafficking. I mean, pornography is and can be human trafficking.
Oh, well, think about all the little. Oh, I was just talking about somebody about this. The apps and the games and the TV series and YouTube and all those other things that you can watch. And then they have little as these kids are watching this on their iPads or their tablets or their phones or whatever they have, and all of a sudden a little thing pops up. And they go, oh, yeah, I know it. They touch it and they click on it, and all of a sudden they're into a porn site, or they're into something that is not necessarily they should be in. And it is so mind-blowing that there's such an innocent show. It is such a wonderful kids show, and they're putting these links in here that these kids don't know. They just see the link pop up and they think, oh, hey, and they click on it, and all of a sudden they're into some pornographic thing, or they're into some suicidal thing. It's amazing what the lengths people are going to exploit the human trafficking. And it is
it's very mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing to see some of that. I can't. Like I said, I was talking with a friend the other day. Again, our organization, we look for some of this stuff, and we were talking about how his child was watching something and clicked on something and linked him right to something bad. And they were like, oh no, like, what do I do? But they can't get rid of that. It's on there. It's not going away. It's harmless, but at the same time, it's very dangerous. It's very the way your mind perceives it. Now they've been exploited to that. Now they see that, and now what happens? Where does it go from there? That's the scary thing.
It does kind of desensitize them a little bit too, because
it's
not weird anymore. It's not out of the norm anymore.
Right? It's like, oh, it's something that is normalized. But, we teach in our classes that anywhere from 90 to 95% of our daily lives are run subconsciously. And that's our values, our beliefs, and our emotions that are formed from a very young age. The first 7 years of our life, we know, is the most crucial time of a child's life, because that's when they're, sponges. They're, absorbing everything, and they are finding their values through all of those things that they're seeing and hearing and feeling. and we know that kids as young as 5 years old that's on a tablet, or even 4-year-olds that are watching YouTube, are exposed to some sort of sexualized images that automatically are stored in the subconscious mind. And, when we were kids, what were you guys like? If you saw something that kind of intrigued your imagination or that you wanted to know more about, what did you guys do?
I'm not allowed to talk about that because this is a serious subject. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. What?
Oh, you made me lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So we dig into it, right? We want to know more. It's like, oh, what was that? Okay, I want to see more. You know, especially, am I allowed to say boobs on this show?
Yep.
Too late now.
Okay, right. So, little boys, they're already hearing about breasts and, boobs and butts and all this other stuff in kindergarten. And so, it's so easily accessible for them on their Chromebooks at school, on, their iPads, on whatever devices they have, to type in boobs or butts. And what does it bring up? I mean, it's gonna bring up pornographic images. And it's all because a child's mind is so exploratory that they just want to learn more. They want to know more. It's about the world and the environment around them. So they get into it, and it's really scary to know how fast they get into it. And we know that the different pathways in the brain, how it's constantly, ever changing, that it starts off with light porn to very aggressive, abusive porn. And if people are having actual health issues like juvenile erectile dysfunction issues and desensitization of normal sexual intimacy. So it is creating a pathway of having this, oh, we've got to have aggressive sex. And so human trafficking is now normal because now there is more, what are those called? I'm losing my train of thought. But, where you want something, you want to experience something. Anjali, help me here.
I'm trying so hard.
It's kind of distracting because you have your.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I know what you mean. I just can't. I can't verbalize it either. I'm so sorry.
I think one of the things that, when you're talking about kids, kids these days, even young babies, I mean, you see kids as young as 2 with a tablet, and, kids have the access to those kind of things is so readily available. When I was a kid, I can tell you it was how I was so much older before I knew about any of these things. It wasn't talked about, and it was very, things just like that weren't that
we went out
readily available. So it's just mind blowing to me.
We went after the Sports Illustrated. Grab the Sports Illustrated, go look at the girl in the swimsuit. That's grab the JCPenney catalog, the girl's in her bra and pant. That was the extent of what I was able to grab, I guess, or get my hands on, maybe a Playboy or one of those magazines or something. But I didn't have. I mean, the access today is wow, endless. It's pretty scary. Pretty scary.
It really is.
It was fantasizing. They have the sexual fantasies that they have to act on now.
There we go.
Yeah.
See?
They had imagination back in the day.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's all out there. It's just like, boom, there it is. Like, do what you want. And I think that really started when media started sexualizing individuals. Camel cigarettes, when they were advertising it used to be a camel smoking a cigarette. And then it was a sexy cowboy. And then it was a half-naked woman. And it was supposed to be an appetite suppressant to help you be skinnier and thinner and more sexy. Like, you think about the way that the brain is impacted and how hormones really play a big play in our life. So media and marketing companies are really pushing for that sexualization. Oh, well, if we do something sexy, somebody's going to remember it, right?
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
So Michael's talked about he's had a lot of training through his company for what to look for with human trafficking as far as going into, because like you said, they go into warehouses, they go into back rooms of businesses. They're in the places where the general public, where most of the general public are not. So he knows what to look for as far as that goes. One of the things that comes to my mind is I'm in healthcare. I work at a surgical center, and a lot. I've had a few incidents happen over the last several months that have just made me think: would I recognize if somebody was in here as a victim of sexual or even of human trafficking? Because if someone is in captivity with if there's a child in captivity with somebody, they can still seek medical help and get that help that they need. Um, but I want to know, what are some things that just everyday people can be on the lookout for to maybe spot human trafficking? And what are some things that you can do to help somebody in that situation?
So before we dive into that, okay, I know we got to keep this serious, but we also have to shout out our sponsor. I know, got to do this real quick. Okay, give us a break so we can think about some things that we want to do. Cope and Mellow Guitars. So Copeland Guitar Cigar Boxes. Thank you so much for sending us this awesome cigar box guitar. We love it. It's awesome. Again, I'm still trying to learn how to play it, and it's way cool.
It is beautiful.
We were able to just be blessed by getting these. They have an Instagram, they have a website, they have an Etsy, they have these awesome guitars that he builds from scratch. And I'm telling you right now, this is not some chintzy little guitar. It's heavy.
The craftsmanship that goes into it is almost indescribable. They're just beautiful.
It's awesome. He has so many of them on there. You can go and check out his page, but we just want to shout out this show is not able to happen without them sponsoring us and taking care of, all this cool equipment that you don't get to see and that you kind of see they're the reason. Their sponsorship, their help is why we're able to do these shows, why we're able to bring this stuff to you. So we just want to shout out Cope and Mellow. Thank you so much for everything that you do for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, again, moving into what you asked, like some signs. So some of my training that I received at my job was to look for red flags. They call them the red flags. And they also gave me a card that I carry with me in my wallet every single day to be able to look at some of those things. So I'm going to read some of these things off. And then if I've missed anything that you guys can add to what you guys have as well. But some of the things, again, I get to see places where people are not able to see. And these are usually some spots that they might have people out there. Okay. Again, not just children, there's children, there's adults, there's elderly people. Please remember,
people with mental and physical disabilities.
There is traffickers don't discriminate. They don't care who you are, what community you live in. If they're looking for something, they will find you. They will get you. And Liam Neeson is not I'm just kidding. Anyway, so some of the things that I look for is fearful, anxious, and submissive behavior. You can tell that right away if they have these behaviors. Poor hygiene, malnourishment, or fatigue. They're not going to be showered. They're going to be dirty. They don't. Traffickers don't give them access to your normal hygiene. The bath, they're probably going to the bathroom in a bucket or a corner or just the floor. I mean, they don't get that. They don't get showers. They don't get to have clean clothes. Things to that. Physical or sexual abuse. You might see some scars, you might see bruises, you might see blood, you might see some of these things that go, hey, this is not normal. Lacks freedom of movement. This was one of the big things as we did some of our training, as far as they are in a certain spot and they are not going away from this particular area. And could this be, this could be for fear of that the person that has them is going to punish them, whether it be sexually, whether it be abusively, physically, mentally, all of those things all together. They just don't want to upset or change the dynamic of things because they've been threatened. They've been told, hey, don't do this or else. So those are some of the things. Lacks control over money, identification, or phone. So again, they are not just in the back room. They are not just in the cage. They are out in society every single day. They are walking next to you. They are sitting next to you, but they might not be able to, handle money or talk on the phone or do some of these things. So, I mean, that again, it's not just behind the scenes, it's out in the open as well. They are dressed inappropriate for the climate. If you see somebody that's in Wyoming and they're in a t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops, don't look at me because that's me every day. But seriously, if they're dressed inappropriately for their environment, there's probably a good reason why, whether it be they're out of place, they've been stolen, there's something wrong with that whole thing. And then areas that are suspiciously off limits or have locks. Again, one thing that you see in my line of work is back rooms, different places, and that didn't used to be locked, that didn't used to be, oh, you can't go there. Again, they ask us to look for some of these things as far as this is what could be happening. So that's kind of my world, what I look at, what I'm looking for. Again, more so than I used to 2 months ago. And it kind of makes me sick to my stomach that maybe I was not looking for some of these things, again, because it's out there every day and it doesn't stop.
Well, it's kind of like something we said before we went live is this is a very sensitive, highly sensitive subject.
But it needs to be talked about.
It does need to be talked about. But I think that so many people want to bury their heads in the sand. Oh, we live in Wyoming and we're so rural. This can't happen here. And this only happens in big cities and we don't need to worry about these things. But I think it's really good to talk about these things and bring them out into the open because it can happen anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think it's important too that most people think that, human trafficking victims are transported from overseas and they're, here from, human smuggling or, whatever. I've gotten lost in a lot of those myths and have forgotten a lot of those because of the education that we've been able to gain through this process. But the last statistics I read was 85% of human trafficking victims are domestic born. They are domestic sex trafficking or labor trafficking victims that are groomed and exploited based off of their vulnerabilities. We do know now that there are people that are breeding babies just to sell to human trafficking rings because babies go for a lot more money. And it's really unfortunate. Some women are specifically taken to be breeders, and it's unidentified. We have familial trafficking. We have, I think the statistic last time I heard was 65% of familial traffickers were of the mothers, 17 were fathers, and then the rest were extended family. So I think that that's something that we fail to see, that even parents and family members can be predators when it comes to sex trafficking, labor trafficking, or both at the same time, or even making child pornography. I mean, we see that in the news all the time. where, somebody is in possession of child pornographic images or videos, or making child pornography through drugging. We just had a case in Casper where, somebody was drugging a 13-year-old to make pornographic videos. And that is a form of human trafficking, and it's not being seen as that. We are, if we don't open our eyes now, we're never going to make a dent in it. We're never going to be able to make a difference for those that are suffering through such trauma and abuse.
Well, and sometimes it's to keep them compliant too. Some of the victims, if they're out on the streets, they will take away their birth control or whatever, get them pregnant so that they can take that child away, and it'll keep them in trafficking. If they've tried to escape, they take their babies.
Yeah.
So they won't leave if they can't get to their baby, and they won't let them get to their baby.
20 to 40 million people are part of human trafficking every day. It's mind-blowing, the numbers. And like you said, if we don't start now, don't talk about it now, there's no way we make a dent in it. And unfortunately, it's going to be a hard fight. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have any problem fighting hard for this, because it's again something that's kind of near and dear to my heart now after watching and getting the training and understanding some of those things. $150 billion a year is made off of human trafficking. It's scary to know that number. And that's a big driver. That's a bit, like you said, more money goes into a baby. More money goes into a virgin. More money goes into a, there's so many things. There's so many categories. $99 billion comes from sex exploitation. 99 billion of that 150 billion is all about the sexual stuff. Again, it's 71% of girls and women are part of human trafficking, and 29% are boys. And I'm sorry.
And men.
Men, yes. 71% girls and women, 29% boys and men. And again, like you said, it's not just kids. It's not just teenagers. It's not just adults. It's not just elderly. It's all of them. They all are part of this whole thing. And they don't discriminate. They will find you what they want, and they'll get that. And it's just, I like I said, when I pull some of these numbers and I see some of these numbers, it's mind blowing and mind boggling that it's got to this point. And so hopefully we can educate people out there, especially you guys. Thank you so much, Crystal and Ange, for doing this, for making this part of your life to go after and tackle full force head on, because it is hard to do that.
We brought Anjali on here to talk about some things, and I feel like we haven't given you the floor to say very much. And I want to maybe open up this time to you. Do you have some things that you haven't been able to share with us yet?
Oh goodness, put me on the spot.
Well, I'm sorry.
No,
I just
you're
didn't.
good,
I just feel like we brought you on, and you haven't had. I feel like we've been monopolizing most of the time, so I'd like to give you an opportunity to.
We
to
want
share
you to
some
be able to
things.
educate everybody out there, because you're our big advocate for us here in Uintah County.
Well, and that is what I'm going to be doing with Crystal. As Crystal is taking this new step into opening the home, she's going to be training me to become a trainer here in the county, and then hopefully I'll be spreading it throughout Wyoming. And however she needs me to educate, I will begin to start educating throughout the state. So I'm pretty excited about that step. And not only will I be educating on human trafficking, but I will be educating on sexual assault, family violence, suicide, and basically sharing my own story, which is really really meaningful to me. So I'm pretty excited to be able to do that with Crystal. So
I think that's wonderful. So will you go to like specific businesses and educate them on human trafficking and what things to look for and what to do and how to react?
Right.
Things
well,
like that.
Like your organization, like you were asking just a little bit ago about the medical field and what they're going to be watching for. Crystal trained me to come to your work and talk to you guys about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I'll be training, anyone that asks us to come, or we'll reach out to them. That's exactly what we'll be doing. Goodness, what else do you want us to be working on?
Oh, well, and Anjali gets to start with public speaking, and she's going to be doing a lot of our media marketing type with her writing because she's a beautiful writer. So we are so excited to have her be able to update our media and be able to spread correct information instead of mythical information, so that people are very well informed. She has been an amazing asset. She started off with our hospitality outreach, and through some of our trainings, she's come to almost all of the trainings that we've had in Uena County, and has even come to Sweetwater County to help. So she has been one of our long-term volunteers. So she's got this down, and so I can't wait to help empower her voice and help work with her on these superpowers that she has as a person, as an individual, because she really is an asset to our communities. So I just really want her to have some recognition for all of the hard work that she does for a lot of our social issues that we're facing in today's world.
And before we wrap things up, I really want to make sure that we put out there, how do people get in touch with you guys to have you come and educate their business or their organization so they can be more informed about human trafficking? How do they reach out to you?
So they can reach us on our website. You guys have it pulled up right now on the screen. Under the contact tab, we have our phone number and an email address in which can be reached. If you send us a message, the reason for our contact, or to contact us, and then a brief message about what you would like us to do, we will make sure that we get something scheduled with you as soon as possible. We have had to start training or charging for our trainings because, we've been doing this now for 3 years, and we have to be more sustainable. We can't all be volunteers for the rest of our lives, unfortunately, like we would really like to, but it's just not sustainable if we continue doing that. So we will get in touch with you on like a price quote, or if you want a price quote and roughly how many people you want trained, we would be happy to make sure that that is taken care of as soon as possible.
We also have a Facebook page, and we can get the messages through Facebook as well.
That's good to know. Thank you so much.
Survivors you can share your story on the website. It's anonymous. Is it anonymous, or does it become? You can make it anonymous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you can.
It says post anonymously.
There you go.
Okay. Yes or no. So you can post your story and be anonymous about things. You can help with things, student volunteer, adult volunteer, sponsors. That is on there. Here's just a little bit of stuff on their website going on there. They are 3 years old, and they're going to go into the 4th year. A lot of new things coming in. They're going to have a house. They're going to move forward. This is really cool. Good stuff. And just awesome stuff that you guys are doing. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing things with us, educating us. Get away from the myths, right, Crystal?
Yes. Yeah, please, if you can, get away from the myths. The more that we spread myths and untruths, the more harmful it can be to survivors and victims of human trafficking. We also want to encourage that people are not utilizing some of those images that seem more graphic or brutalizing, or maybe more graphic than they should be. We want to promote uh, safe images of creating happy communities instead of those harmful images, because that can also misconstrue and cause harms to individuals that are suffering through some of these situations in their life. So, if you guys have any questions on whether things are myths or not, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to have you guys ask us questions instead of spread false information. Anjali is very well trained. If you guys are in Uintah County, in the Valley, any of it, please feel free to reach out to her as well. She is amazing at making sure that she will give you the correct information as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. There is a national human trafficking hotline out there, 1-888-373-7888. Again, that is 1-888-373-7888. There's a lot of eights in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can text Be Free to 233-733. And that is the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Sweetwater Against Trafficking.org. We have Crystal and Ange. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us, Michael
Yes, you guys.
and
Thank you
Carrie.
so much. This was
Yes,
really
thank you.
informative, and I appreciate you guys being willing to come forward, sharing just a touch of your story with us. And to me, that really it just humanizes it in a very personal way of showing people the empathy and understanding you have, and that encourages people to reach out, because when they know that they'll be heard, they're willing to reach out to those people. So thank you so much for being willing to be those voices.
I think also, too, you guys have given some courage to people out there that might not have had courage before watching this, to be able to come forward, to talk about their story or get the help they need, and or say, hey, we need to stop this human trafficking. This is what's going on over here. So again, you guys have just thrown out some courage to those people, and I really appreciate that. I think
and
that's
I know
awesome.
that there's so much to talk about in this this subject. There we just hit the very tip of the iceberg with it, but as people have questions, you can feel free to drop a comment on the YouTube page. You can DM us on Instagram, Facebook. If anybody needs to reach out for help, please get a hold of us and we will put you in the right hands.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Anything else? Do you want to shout out anybody? Your mom? Anybody?
My kid.
Shout out to our board members, because our board members what was that?
Yes.
Yeah. So our board members, they have been backing us from the get-go. They didn't have to start this grassroots project with us, but I really have to say that we have some really amazing people that have backed us through the last 3 years, whether they be volunteers or our board members, helping us make decisions and move forward. And also just like our community, because if we didn't have our community sponsors, we definitely wouldn't have been able to run programming. And that's Rocky Mountain Power has been a sponsor for us every year. They've just been absolutely amazing. We've had Genesis Alkali that has helped with sponsorship. We've had Tata that has helped us in our efforts, and 307 Auto. as well as Rock Springs Auto Body and Glass. I mean, it just helping us with those fundraisers, with being able to help us with the education of, okay, we'll give you $200 to go and educate these kiddos. That has helped tremendously because materials are costly. Our time is, mainly it's our gas, our gas to go and get to these venues where we're hosting these free classes for our kiddos. Or for our caregivers. So we couldn't do it without our community partners. And we really hope to continue expanding and bringing community partners on board with us to help us combat human trafficking throughout Wyoming.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And you got all yours? Shout outs, kids?
I'm getting to where I can have shout outs.
Okay.
I don't have those yet. Give me some shout outs.
Oh, your daughter. I mean, you're fighting for your kiddos. She has definitely fought for her kiddos tooth and nail, right? So let's give them a shout out.
Absolutely. My kiddos are amazing.
Awesome. I'm going to shout out my sponsor again, Copamelo Guitar Cigar Box Guitars. Thank you so much for supporting our show this month and all the stuff that you do for us. Thank you so much for my mods for watching the channel, making sure no graphical dumb stuff comes up, and holy cow, when we get bigger, that happens. And I'm a mod for a couple channels, and it's scary, some of the stuff that comes up.
Well, I just thought of a shout out is Crystal at Sweetwater Against Trafficking, because without her I wouldn't be able to be fulfilling my dream. I'm gonna be living my dream because
yes, Crystal, thank you so much.
Me a voice. So thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button on your way out. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Make sure you hit the little notification bell so you don't miss another timeout moving forward. And with that, this timeout